Then. Well, good afternoon. I'm really excited to be joined today by a lady that I've probably known for about 4 or 5 years now, a lady by the name of Jean Simons. Jean, give a wave.
Hi. Hi there.
Jean is joining me today because she is a therapist in a number of different areas. I'm going to let her give you a bit of an overview of her background, and she's here to talk about why she took a look at Nrf2 technology, Nrf2 activation, and why she has incorporated the products that we work with into her practice as a therapist. So first of all, Jean, thanks for joining me today. Lovely to have you on.
Hi, Laura.
First of all, tell us a little bit about your background so we know, for anybody listening, you could get an understanding of the kind of training and the different therapies that you actively practice on your clients.
Well, I started my journey as a holistic therapist, firstly studying massage. So I do various mediums of massage, therapeutic, Thai yoga, reflexology, and then also chair massage and Indian stamp massage. From there, I kind of developed, as you have problems yourself, you tend to specialize or investigate and look into things personally. And I always had eczema. And through that, I actually ended up in the Dermal Institute and studied as a skin specialist. And from there, I then started Spagyric Medicine, which is a natural plant and flower-based medicine, which is really based in Germany and Switzerland. And that's how I've arrived. I've just slowly built my business up as the time has gone on, so that I can offer as much as I can to my clients.
Excellent. And typically, I know it's very hard to be generalized, but sort of who comes to see you? Have you got a sort of area you specialize in, or have you got a particular area you love treating?
Well, I can say personally, I like dealing with a more mature person. I like my elders. I love working with my elders because whilst, you're sitting there treating them, they always seem to give you some sort of inspiration or some sort of, nugget that you can work with. So yeah, I tend to work with more people 60 plus. I really enjoy that.
And have you a specific thing they come to you for, whether it's pain or inflammatory, or is it a variety of ailments? Is it hard to put a specific?
It varies, but I would say mainly aches and pains. I mean, they tend to come to you with their aches and pains, and then, as a therapist, you'll try to get to the bottom of it to find what the origin is, and then treat them from there on. So you may start with just giving them a massage, and then obviously you'll offer your knowledge and what you know and what you can do to help them.
Fantastic. So moving on to Nrf2 activation, because I know that I dropped you a note about 2 years ago. You were one of the first people I thought of because I knew your love of all things natural. I knew you're one of those people who love natural things. And you didn't look immediately. Actually, it's safe to say you kind of didn't take a look until a year ago. So it was 12 months later you took a look. And we won't go too much into that, but tell me, what was it that grabbed your attention or made you go, I'm going to take a look at this? Because obviously if Laura's still willing to talk to me after 12 months, what was it, the first thing about Nrf2 activation that grabbed your attention with your background, knowing what you know?
Well, I wanted to see that it really did do what it said on the packet, as with everything else. You came to me with the knowledge. I actually read the stuff the first time and I said, no, I'm all right. I can definitely address my clients with what I've got. I don't really want to look into anything else. I just don't want to touch it. And then when you came back to me again, I said, right, all right, Jean, let me sit down, have a look at this properly, assess it. Where, it's good to have an informed choice, you know what I mean? So I looked at it. I looked into the peer reviews as well to see that exactly, the science behind the product, which is really, really important to me as a therapist. I always look at the science behind everything. And I couldn't believe it. I said, well, if it does this, I have to try it. And as you know, I tried it first. And once I tried it, there was no way I was going to say no, because it really did make a difference.
Okay. And if I may ask you a personal question, where was your health when you got on it, and I think it's really important when we talk about Nrf2 activation, we do say we do not claim to cure, prevent, treat, mitigate any illness or disease, but what we know by lowering the oxidative stress in your body, right down to that of a young child, it helps your body heal itself. So where was your health when you started, and what were the first few things you experienced? And then obviously maybe 12 months later, what have you noticed has changed?
Well, the first thing I would say, and I'm sure most people will agree, that you live with pain, you live with other things, you just kind of adapt your body to it. And I cared for my father for the last 3.5 years of his life, which meant that I was turning him constantly, feeding him, sometimes not sleeping well. In fact, most of the time not sleeping well, anxiety. I was actually going through the menopause at that time as well. And you just kind of adapt to, you just adapt to the pain, you accept it. And that was it. But I started taking Nrf2 to my amazement. Maybe about 6 or 7 weeks in, I said, oh my God, I said, I'm not feeling this pain, and then I started to actually check different parts of my body, i.e. my thumbs, which were really kind of getting arthritic from massage constantly.
You use your hands. There are days that I talk to you and you tell me you've done 10 hours of massage, which I just, it's phenomenal. I can't massage for more than 10 minutes with feeling a little bit kind of done in by it.
Yeah, exactly. And, I use my thumbs a lot, and obviously I adapted because I do tapping, I do no hands massage, I do all different types of things. So, but you realize, as you do things or you pick up something, then you realize you've got an ache and you just adapt to it. And I was adapting to my body. And after taking, maybe a couple of months into this, I just suddenly realized I wasn't getting any pain. I couldn't believe it, especially my lower back, which is a family thing. In fact, we suffer with our lower backs. It's one of our weak spots. And I couldn't believe I wasn't getting any pain. I said, this is amazing. I jumped out of bed. I didn't roll out of bed as I normally did before. And really, that was the start of it. So what I did was, as you know, I started, I became a distributor. I gave a pot to my mother. I gave also a pot to my son, who is also, he's actually runs a gym. So he's a sports elite athlete. And I asked them to take it, see how it, how they found it. And from there, I built my business.
Fantastic. Okay, that's awesome. So, and just from your, own experience, what we can say, and this is always something we can tell people, that they're going to sleep better, they're going to ache less, they're going to have better energy, definitely greater mental fatigue, less fog, or not greater fatigue, less fatigue and fog,
less fatigue,
agility on that. But you've obviously had feedback from your clients over the last 12 months, and how has that supported the therapies that you work with, and how does that work for you as somebody who they know you in the capacity as maybe a massage therapist or a Spagyric medical practitioner? How has that helped you?
Well, as you know, right, you're always the best advertisement for your business, aren't you? And with Spagyric Medicine, we actually go to university twice a year to update. And I'm also studying. I continue to study. Obviously, as a therapist, you do continue, you have to continue to look into what's going on in the market, what new things are out there, and what have you. And I can say personally, where that is concerned, my brain is now functioning on all cylinders. So I feel absolutely great. Physically, I feel great. And when you're speaking to your clients, I mean, they just have to look at you. I do yoga. So of course, they know that I'm a fit person, and they will ask questions. Well, what do you do? How comes you feel like this? When you say there is something there that I'd like to recommend to you, they would automatically look at you. And most people would do that and say, well, how did you feel when you did it? And you just tell them a bit about your story. And it's quite easy then to pass that information on, and then they will try it. And obviously, as you know, you're seeing your clients regularly, so you will always ask them for feedback. you'll keep in touch with them and get to know how they're getting on. And I've built my business from that stand, and it's been absolutely great.
Yeah. And something actually you said to me quite recently was powerful, is that people, sometimes it's hard to recommend people for a therapy because everybody's, I ran a yoga business for 8 years, and I know there's therapies that I love and there's therapies that I'm kind of, maybe more wary of because I kind of think, I don't know whether that's really going to work. Whereas when you're, the referral, somebody being able to say, I'm taking one little yellow pill a day and this is what it's done for me, means that you're getting referrals through your existing client base to people you wouldn't have maybe been told about otherwise.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because as you know, once you tell someone and they've been taking it and it's working well for them, they will automatically go to a friend or someone else and say, well, look, I've been taking this, give Jean a call, let her explain it to you more, because as you know, a lot of people can't explain exactly how they're feeling and why they're feeling like that. So then they will then ask you to then speak to them, and then you slowly build up your clientele that way.
Excellent. You mentioned your son, and he runs a gym, and he's a elite athlete, and I think that's something that's very a good point to touch on. One of the key elements of activating the Nrf2 is you increase something called glutathione, and the studies around the product we work with is it will increase glutathione productions by anywhere from 300, in some people as high as 900% in 120 days.
Yeah.
And this has now got the approval of the banned substance control group who govern over elite athletes. So this is something that somebody who is training hard can take. And I think it's an interesting one. I think a lot of people think oxidative stress is something you get if you just live an unhealthy lifestyle. But
yeah.
It's to say, if you breathe and you eat, which all living human beings and mammals do, then you're going to have oxidative stress. And the big area with elite athletes is, I saw one, I spoke to one yesterday, and he asked me, what would it do? And I said, it increases your recovery time.
Exactly.
Glutathione is the mother of all enzymes.
Yeah.
It prepares your body post-exercise. So when you increase your own natural indigenous enzyme system, you're going to see greater relief. And I'd love to know the feedback you've had from people who train hard, not just our the elderly we're talking about who have aches and pains, but from the athletes who are taking this, and what you've heard.
Yeah, well, definitely. I've got one particular person. She trains. She's actually a professional fighter, and she said what has happened is not only is she recovering faster, but then it makes that she can actually work. She can work better. She can actually fight harder. It actually releases the same thing it does for me. I find that, whereas my leg could go, a certain distance, then you find that you can actually go, you can more intensify your training, as the time builds up, because the wonderful thing is it's not just helping you, it's actually repairing you from a cellular level, which means then the body is actually far more effective. So yeah, it's been absolutely great.
Fantastic. I think that's a really kind of a bit that we sometimes miss whenever we're talking about Nrf2 activation. So just in terms of speaking to anybody who might be listening to this, anything you want to say to them in terms of either trying the product or looking like you did, because, being a therapist, adding another feather to your bow as such?
Well, it sounds, a lot of people are kind of, they will think twice about doing it because they'll think, oh yes, it's a lot more work, but it actually isn't. It's just something else that you can add to your, to your business. And it's as simple as that. Whilst you're talking about everything else, and you will respect the fact that with therapists, when you come to them, it's just like, being a hairdresser. You sit down, and whilst you're working with them, they talk to you. They talk to you about all the different things that they're going through. And if they have pain, if they have a problem which you can help with, of course, you will always, exercise empathy, and you'll tell them. And it's as easy as that. I've built up, as you know, a large client base using, explaining Nrf2 and working with people, doing that, just talking to them as they talk to you about their problems. You will tell them, yes, I've got something that might be able to help you with that. They'll ask what it is. You will explain it. And more often than not, you'll also explain what it's done for you personally, which is what I did. And there we go. It's not a hard thing. As long as you can explain yourself properly, it's not a hard thing.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's it. If you can share your own experience, that's enough.
Yes,
Excellent.
definitely.
Excellent. You know, it's like when choosing colors to paint my wall the other day, it's no, I don't need to know what's in the paint. Well, I do need to know it's safe and it's not going to poison us all, but it's whether I like the color or not, you know. Yeah. And it's going to create the ambience you want in your room. So exactly. That is so true. Well, Jean, I want to say thank you from my behalf for taking a look 12 months ago. I've loved watching you react to the product, because I know you were a little bit skeptical 12 months ago, but I know you wanted it to work, but you were skeptical. And I'm delighted that you've been able to impact so many people's lives positively over the last 12 months by getting out and sharing that with you. And what I'd say is, anybody who's watching this wants to get in touch with Jean or myself, having heard what we've spoken about today, we would love to chat to you. So
great.
Thanks for that, Jean.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.